The film starts, and we're introduced to a scientist and his daughter. Wait, there's a strange, unsettling mark on both of their faces, which takes away from their beauty and makes them self-conscious. The scientist, determined and a little obsessed, has built a secret lab inside his house. He's been working tirelessly for years, deep in research, hoping to find a solution. Meanwhile, young Wei sits peacefully, drawing a picture of a beautiful flower, the crop flower. Her eyes light up with curiosity as her dad walks in and gently explains, with a hint of excitement, that this flower is incredibly rare. It has powerful healing properties, he tells her, and it only blooms deep in the jungle every once in a while. His tone is hopeful, like he's found a miracle. He reveals that he's already used this flower in several of his experiments. Finally, after years of trial and error, the scientist's eyes widen with joy. He succeeded in creating a serum. This could hide the mark, he says, voice trembling with excitement. It can fuse skin tissues. He prepares everything with shaky hands. Carefully, he cuts a piece of skin, applies a chemical to it, and presses it against his own face. At first, nothing happens. Then, shock spreads across his face. The skin starts growing. Fast, its tissues regenerate, and the skin stretches and shifts, slowly covering his wounds. But the joy quickly turns to horror. The expression on his face twists, panic sets in. No, this isn't right, he whispers. He only wanted to fix the mark near his mouth, but now the new skin won't stop. It creeps over his entire face like a living thing. Eyes wide, he begins to shake. Frantically, he grabs a scalpel and slices the skin around his lips. Blood drips, but it's no use. The skin regenerates again and again. Watching all this, Wei is frozen in fear. She grabs a knife with trembling hands and, in a moment of horror and heartbreak, stabs her father. She's just killed her father, the one person she loved most. She drops the knife, and time seems to freeze. Now, she's alone. Time passes. Wei, emotionally scarred, throws herself into her studies. She's brilliant, just like her dad. That brilliance earns her a full scholarship to a top university in the US. She leaves her hometown behind, boarding a flight with heavy baggage, not just literal, but emotional. In the US, she moves in with her aunt, but her cousin, Anjia, doesn't exactly roll out the welcome mat. She frowns, clearly annoyed. They'll have to share a room. Wei, polite but reserved, doesn't say much. She quietly sets up a small shrine in the corner of the room, placing a photo of her dad at the center. Her eyes are full of reverence. It's clear, to her, he was a god. Later, we see her carefully studying his old notes, her fingers tracing over his handwriting. Her eyes burn with determination. The next morning is her first day of university. As she walks through the city, she notices a homeless man. His face is disfigured and scarred. For a moment, Wei stares. Her own facial mark makes her feel a strange connection to him. He notices her hesitation, then kindly offers directions to the university. She nods in gratitude and walks away, a bit shaken. In class, the professor beams as he introduces Wei. Everyone, meet Wei, he says proudly. She scored a perfect 100% on the entrance test. First time in years. Heads turn. Wei gives a small, nervous smile. After class, she tries to take some supplies from the lab. The professor catches her, raising an eyebrow. What are you doing here? He asks, not unkindly. Wei, slightly startled, explains that she needs some materials for a personal experiment. He sighs, then says firmly, you can't just take things. But, if you become my lab assistant, you'll get access. Wei's eyes light up. She explains her dad was a scientist and she's trying to complete his research. She holds out his journal. The professor flips through it. He doesn't say much, but later that night, he's clearly intrigued. He looks up Wei's father and is stunned. This man was a genius, he mutters to himself. But nobody funded his work. Back at home, Anjia's two friends come over. They sneak into Wei's space, giggling, until they find her tools. Blood-stained instruments. Disturbing photos. They rush out, terrified. The next day, Anjia sits with her friends, laughing like nothing happened. Wei watches them from a distance, longing in her eyes. She wants to fit in, to belong. She walks over and nervously offers to buy them lunch. The girls hesitate, eyeing the mark on her face. But finally, they agree. At the restaurant, things get awkward. Wei eats differently, almost animalistically. The girls glance at each other, unsettled. Without saying a word, they get up and leave. Heartbroken, Wei quietly packs up the leftover food and leaves. She finds the homeless man and offers him the food. Her voice cracks as she speaks. There's a mark on my face. It makes me ugly. The man looks at her gently and says, no, you're beautiful just the way you are. Something softens in her. For the first time in a long while, she smiles. On the way home, her professor pulls up in his car and offers her a ride. He's holding a proposal in his hand. I want to help you finish your father's research, he says seriously, but I need your permission. Wei's eyes well up with tears. Yes, she says. Thank you. The next day, they dive into the experiment. Days turn into nights. They push themselves to the edge, but nothing works. The formula fails. Again and again. The professor, frustrated and exhausted, slams his hands on the table. We're done. I'm calling it off. Wei sits in silence, devastated. That night, Anjia's friend Alice visits the lab. She also applies for the lab assistant role, and the professor, still disappointed, accepts. On the way home, Alice and Wei talk. I'm sorry for the way we acted, Alice says. Wei nods. It's okay, I get it. They smile, and a new friendship begins. Alice shows Wei a poster. On it is the same flower, the crop flower. Wei's eyes widen. Alice says it's being shown at an exhibition. Wei's mind races. She remembers her father's voice. That flower is the key to everything. That night, under the cover of darkness, Wei sneaks into the exhibition at a nearby farmhouse. Her hands tremble as she reaches out and steals the flower. She doesn't stop to look back. She races to the science lab, heart pounding, eyes burning with purpose, and begins her experiment again, with everything on the line.